Steelers Nation. You are now listening to Good Steelers Morning, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news, rumors, and everything black and gold. Now, here is your host, Justin Ottstadt.
All right, Steelers Nation, the 2024 schedule is officially here, and there is a lot to unpack with this schedule release. First, notably, I want to come out and say this, and I'm probably definitely not alone here. Let's just be honest, the Pittsburgh Steelers got screwed just a little bit, and I'll get into why I'm saying that. And spoiler, it's not because of the teams that we face. It's more so about the order in which the Steelers are going to be playing some of these opponents, and we'll get into that shortly. But looking at this schedule, man, week one, the Pittsburgh Steelers are back on the road once again. That seems to be a trend over the more recent years, the Steelers starting off their season on the road. But this year, the Steelers home game, first home game of the season, isn't until week 3. But let's go ahead and get into this from the very top. Steelers week 1, the rumors were true. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be taking on the Atlanta Falcons. And yes, this is going to be offensive coordinator Arthur Smith's return to his former team. And that's pretty much the story there. I think what I'm going to do here as well, because I did tell you guys I'd give you my prediction on each of these games, wins and losses. I'm going to go on a limb and say this is a game the Steelers should win. However, they have a history of starting off on bad foots in the season or at the start of the season. But yeah, this is one of those games that I can definitely see the Pittsburgh Steelers losing, starting 0-1 on the season against a team that they should beat. Now, I will mention this, and I definitely got to make this clear. This is a new team, new quarterback, right? New offensive coordinator. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of changes, new offensive line. And so it's a little hard to dictate and kind of predict these schedules, especially this early out. We still have training camp. There's still going to be some roster moves that are more than likely going to be coming down the pipeline here before the season even comes. So this is definitely early predictions on top of just discussing this schedule. Looking at week 2, the Pittsburgh Steelers are back on the road against the Denver Broncos, where Russell Wilson is going to be facing off against his former team in Denver. And I guess he's going to be looking to get some revenge there, and rightfully so. Now, I think this is a game the Steelers should win. I don't think the Denver Broncos are quite there yet in regards to their roster and everything they got going there. I think it's going to take some time for them to continue to build what they're trying to build on that team. And that's a game that I do think the Steelers should win. And I think, spoiler, I think it's going to start a winning streak from here. And so we'll go to week 3 now against the Chargers. This is where the Steelers are back in home in Pittsburgh, hosting Jim Harbaugh's LA Chargers. And this is a game that I do think the Steelers will win and should win, despite the fact that I do think the Chargers are an upcoming team and they can be very competitive. I just personally feel like this is a game that the Steelers should win, and it's mostly because the Steelers tend to lose to teams they're not supposed to and win against teams that they're supposed to lose to, and this is one of those situations here. Moving on to week 4, the Steelers are going to be visiting the Colts, and this is going to be a redemption game for the Steelers. As you guys know, they lost last year. It was a very tough loss for the Steelers. A game that last year I didn't see them losing, and they ended up doing so anyways. Classic type of trap game. It's a game where we all predict they're going to win, and then they end up losing. I think this season they will get the dub, they'll get the win, and they'll continue their winning streak going into week 5, where we face the Dallas Cowboys. We will be hosting the Cowboys. Classic rivalry. It's a Sunday night primetime matchup. It's I believe the first Sunday night football game for the Steelers. And this is a game I just cannot see the Steelers losing. And so, yeah, I'm going to put a W here for this game as well. I don't see Dak Prescott and that team doing anything against us in Pittsburgh. I think we have the edge there going into that one. And that's a 4-game winning streak. I know some people may not agree with that. You can pick and choose where you want to change any of those. But week 6, the Steelers are going to be going to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. This is a team that has been on the rise, in my opinion. I know the roster probably doesn't stand out to some, but I think this is a game where the Steelers are going to fall. It just feels like a typical game for the Steelers to lose in typical Steelers fashion. And so I got them losing week 6 against the Raiders. Week 7, we take on the Jets, which is a team that the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to in 2022, which blew my mind. Still not over it. This year, the big difference is Aaron Rodgers back from injury. That's going to be a matchup to look forward to. But I have us winning against the Jets in Pittsburgh. And moving on to week 8, we get another win here against the Giants. Monday Night Football, and that will be at home in Pittsburgh. So the Steelers have plenty of primetime matchups on this schedule already. In fact, I would say this whole first half of this schedule looks very solid, if I'm being honest. W there for the Steelers. Then we move on to week 9, which is the Steelers bye week, mid-season break. And it's a nice change to see. Not a too early, not a too late. Perfectly almost in the middle there for the Steelers. And they're going to need it. Because moving into week 10, we take on the Commanders, which isn't the most scariest game on this schedule here, folks. Got us winning this game as well. First game against the newly named Commanders, which is mind-blowing to think about. This is where things get a little head-scratching for me. Did you notice I didn't mention any AFC North teams this entire time? The first 10 weeks, folks, no AFC North matchups for the Steelers. That is crazy. This is where the whole controversy comes into play. A lot of people think the Steelers got screwed here. I happen to agree, and we'll get into specifically why. It's not just the fact that the last half of this schedule is the AFC North. It's something coming up here, and we'll get into the dates. Week 11, the Steelers take on the Baltimore Ravens, which is the first divisional game of the season. I do think this is a game the Steelers end up losing. As much as it pains me to say, we always tend to split with the Baltimore Ravens every season, and I think this is going to be a loss here for the Steelers coming off the win against the Commanders in Washington, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Moving on to week 12, the Steelers take on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland on Thursday Night Football, which again, a lot of primetime games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is absolutely awesome. I personally like the primetime stuff. I know some people may not. I got us winning here. Got us beating the Browns. I just don't see us losing to the Browns no matter how good their roster gets. The Browns are going to be the Browns. When I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But most times as a Steelers fan, I'm pretty right. So I'm confident to say that the Steelers are probably going to win that game. Week 13. This is a loss for the Steelers taking on the Bengals in Cincinnati. It's going to be a tough road game against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. As you guys know, Joe Burrow was injured last season, and so this is going to be our first look at Burrow coming back from his injury. And I'm looking forward to that one. I do not personally like the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a personal beef I have with that team, as my era of Steelers football way back when Ben Roethlisberger was new to the league, and those teams you guys all remember are Super Bowl teams. We had a lot of, rivalries with the Bengals over those years. In comparison to the Ravens was also, the Browns, of course, were just the stomping ground for every other AFC North team. But I personally just don't like the Bengals. So looking forward to that one, and I do have us losing that specific game. Week 14, the Steelers once again take on the Cleveland Browns, only this time in Pittsburgh. And it is going to be the final game of that divisional stretch between those two. I have us winning that one as well. I have us clean sweeping the Cleveland Browns for another season. And no one can tell me otherwise. Moving on to week 15. This, folks, this is where things get a little strange for me. And hear me out here. Week 15, we take on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. And it's going to be Sunday. Pay attention to these dates. Sunday, December 15th. Get a calendar out if you need it. By the way, I have us losing this game. It is a 425 game. I guess I should mention that as well. But we're playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know why, but they always seem to have our number. And so I'm scratching that one in as a loss automatically just based on that. Yes, Kenny Pickett is coming back to face his former team, but we all know he's probably just going to be on the bench. So all that story is going to be annoying as hell that entire week. But here we go. Back to the dates. Moving on to week 16, we take on the Baltimore Ravens. Guess what day that is? Saturday, December 21st. Wow. So right there, the Steelers get screwed in just 1 week. They're playing two teams. And that's another 4:30 p.m. game, mind you. I have us winning this game. Although it could be a loss. It depends on how great the Ravens are this season. If they're going to be great at all, we'll see. But I do like the idea of us splitting with Baltimore, although I would really like them to sweep the Baltimore Ravens. But we tend to split with them, and so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. So we got the Eagles, week 15, December 15th. Baltimore Ravens, week 16, December 21st. And then we have the Kansas City Chiefs in week 17 on Christmas. Wednesday, December 25th. That is 3 matchups for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And by the way, have us losing to the Chiefs. That is 3 games in a very, very short window. 3 tough games. Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs. Are you kidding me? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this 3-game stretch for the Steelers. At a time of the season where wins are going to be very important, and we know how that has gone in years past. Finishing off week 18 against the Bengals, I have the Steelers winning in a potential playoff implicated season finale. And again, I do think the Steelers get a win here, especially after losing to the Chiefs on that horrible stretch. Now, the Steelers will get a little bit of time to recover here, although we don't know when the Cincinnati Bengal game is just yet because it says to be determined as of right now of the recording. And so there you have it. That is the entire schedule for the 2024 season. Half of it I really like. There's a lot of games that I'm looking forward to. The bottom half, not a big fan of, if I'm being honest. And some of it is because it just feels like the Steelers get screwed year in and year out when it comes to the schedule. Yes, we've had easy schedules in the past. I admit that. But in this case, I mean, I don't know how anyone looks at this and says this is good, this is fair. You know, you look at that stretch alone, that is terrible. It's very terrible. You're putting this team in a bad spot, but it is what it is, man. I got us finishing the season 11-6. It could easily be 12-5. Either way. And so I want to know what your guys' predictions are. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. And I want to remind folks, man, over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, leave us a review on the channels. It'll definitely help out getting the podcast out there. That said, I've been long enough. I'm going to get on out of here, Steelers Nation. That is your schedule. We'll be back tomorrow morning for the final episode of Good Steelers Morning for this week. And I'll see you guys in the next one.